A very good evening and the warmest of welcomes to Two Full Tossers with myself, Dan Nicol, and Alan Committee, brought to you this week by Richie Benno Jackets, available in white, off-white, cream, ivory and beige. And I've got one today. I don't know which colour it is, but it's probably one of those, and I'm very proud to be wearing it. I'm even prouder to be gazing lovingly into a screen and see the face of Alan Committee come staring back at me with not quite apathy, but it's probably heading in that general direction. Alan Committee, a very good evening and a warm welcome.
And Nicol, what a tremendous pleasure. What a beautiful Monday it is when I spend even a couple of minutes in your company. I've missed you, my friend. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. I'm assuming Kevin Peterson is our guest, but I'm probably wrong again. But can you believe this? We're on episode 13 already, sir. How tremendous. How time flies when you talk to cricket heroes from week to week. It's just tremendous.
Indeed. And I'd like to say, without trying to overblow the importance of this show that we've developed, I'd like to say that in 13 weeks, we have fundamentally changed the game of cricket for the greater good. And I'd like to think had an impact on humanity as a whole, just to understate it, really.
Certainly more people are talking about Lee Barnard than have ever done in the history of cricket, even when Lee Barnard was playing. So that in itself has to be seen as some kind of small measure of success, I would think.
Indeed. And on the subject of Lee Barnard, let's kick off the week, as we always do, with a preview, a glimpse, a photo of this week's lost legend.
There he is. Oh, look at that. And he's got slightly pursed lips there. Do you know who this is? If you do, feel free to scribble your musings into the chat box and send us your thoughts. This is our lost legend for this week. He's no Lee Barnard, but he's of that vintage. And we'll talk about him in a couple of minutes' time.
And he has a magnificent moustache, whoever that gentleman is. The kind of moustache that suggests you might end up handing over some money to him in the Free State, having gone over the speed limit. That's the kind of moustache that I feel that speaks to me as.
That's right. I love David Boone and Jimmy Cook. He's neither of the two people. If you thought he was, who is he? We'll find out in a moment or seven.
We will indeed. Alan's lost legend. Cricketers of days gone by. Let's move to cricketers of days today, because we are a winning nation once again. Pakistan put ruthlessly to the sword, Alan Committee.
At a pact of wonders this very Monday. Wasn't it nice to watch a little bit of T20 on a Monday? You didn't expect it. I'd forgotten about it. And there we were. I want to say we played well. Pakistan played quite poorly today. And we won, and we're grateful for it, and it's a happy day, and well done us. Having not played quite so well on the weekend. Well, we played well in patches and then succeeded somehow in losing with great enthusiasm. It was bizarre.
Is there a greater sight at the moment in South African cricket than Aiden Markram in full flow?
Oh, just brilliant. Absolutely magnificent, in great form. And he looks, in fact, when he does go out, you just kind of wonder how. He gives no inkling or hint of, that will happen in a moment or two, but somehow he does. Yeah, brilliant, full flow. Fantastic.
All right. So 1-1 in that series. Magnificent to see. Nicely done, South Africa. Given that the team is featuring several players that neither you nor I had ever heard of before. So well done and lovely to see. There is also the competition that you are firmly not watching, Alan Committee, not paying any attention at all whatsoever, with religiously fervent devotion, the IPL.
The IPL. I watched all 9 games this weekend to make sure how much I detest it, bore the experience, and I'm happy to report that some teams won, others lost. Some games were very, very close. Others were far, far more kind of wide margin between the players. Today, this very afternoon, there was a fantastically close game in which the team who won came out on top. And the other team who fielded 11 players didn't, and it was just tremendous. And if that isn't cricket coverage like you've never heard, then I don't know what you're tuned in for.
It is the analysis that sets you apart, Alan Committee, and I speak to people about this time and again. I say it is Alan Committee's analysis, his technical breakdown of the game that sets you and Andrew Sampson apart from the rest of the analysts in the world of cricket. So there we go. Everything you need to know about the IPL. All right, we got a wonderful guest tonight. He's not Kevin Peterson. We were going to have Kevin Peterson, but we have upgraded on short notice to somebody far cooler and far more famous. So very excited to have him on. Before we welcome him on and introduce him, I see Angela Jones Phillipson has she's had a crack at a guess as to who our lost legend is. Well, let's find out if she is right, because here we have Alan's lost legend.
There he is, the tremendous moustached figure of a wonderful all-rounder from the mid-80s, Anton Yogi Ferreira. He is this week's lost legend. A man, yeah, Yogi, says Angela. She's got it. She's quite right. Anton Ferreira, of course, a fantastic batsman, kind of medium-paced fast bowler. There he is in full stride as a batsman. Look at that hair. Look at that moustache. Look at the color, the blackness of it. The striking hues. This is a man who went on to play for Warwickshire for a number of years in England, had a brilliant season, kind of his peak season, 1984, 774 runs and 75 wickets in that season alone. And back here in South Africa, tremendous feats around him. Look at that face. Only a mother could. This is tremendous. I'll repeat again. He's no Lee Barnard, and you can see that by the teeth. But he is this week's lost legend, Anton Yogi Ferreira.
A magnificent man. I love that batting photo. There's something reassuring about an old school Duncan Fearnley cricket bat. It just speaks of reason and all that was right about the world many years ago. I see Gary van Lochenberg, who is the Lee Barnard of Boerland Rugby, saying the poor man's Gerrie Coetzee. I think that is a very astute comparison, Mr. van Lochenberg. We have our special guest standing by, but just before we do, we've got to talk about English cricket, Alan. And I think you and I, we take no joy or pleasure in pointing out the frailties, the weaknesses, the moral vacuum, the ethical shortcomings of the Australian and English cricket teams. It's something we take no pleasure in. We do it simply because we have a service to provide to the dozens of people who tune in every week for the gospel of cricket, according to Alan and Dan. But there was an occasion earlier this week, last week, in England, where the weather turned ever so slightly, and they decided to call off the game of cricket. And it breaks my heart as a lover of cricket, Alan Committee, as someone who loves cricket, that they can just take the game, throw it out the window. Oh, it's got a little bit chilly. We're not playing this game anymore. We're leaving.
There's no respect. There's no bottle. There's no oomph and love and adoration, and get out there and play the game. It's just a turn of the weather. It's a slight little drizzle in the air. Get on and play, for heaven's sakes, is what I say to you.
Oh, dear. Well, look, just so you know that we're not going overboard here. We're not being histrionic. Let's have a quick look. This was the Yorkshire versus, I think it was Glamorgan game. So there we go. It's a red ball, for goodness sake. It's county cricket.
Oh, unbelievable.
No. And I can tell you, so I did some research here. I WhatsApped Andrew Sampson, and he sent me a fax because he's quite old school. And he confirmed that not once, ever in the history of South African cricket has a game been called off because of snow. Never happened. Not once.
Yeah. If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does.
All right. Well, look, it's only going to depress me if I talk about it any longer. So let me go for something far more cheering, and that is the arrival of somebody who my father loved to watch.
And my father.
And my father's father loved to watch.
My father's father adored him.
And in fact, my father's father's father, when he was a young child, watched him play in the early part of his career. It felt like he was around forever. I would go out on a limb here. I would say as fine a batsman as South Africa has ever produced. And gee, did he have wonderful hair. Please welcome for the first time to Two Full Tossers, Barry Richards.
There he is. Legend.
Dan, did I play in sandals, Dan? We'll go that far back.
Barry, Richards.
Ten Commandments tablet to cover drive in a magnificent fashion. There you were, you and Sinai.
I still remember seeing the footage of that fabulous one-handed slip catch to get rid of WG Grace in an early season match in the county championship. It was a wonderful moment. Barry Richards, welcome to the show. It is lovely to have you. For the army of Barry Richards fans around the world, where do we find you, and what is Barry Richards up to at the moment?
You'll find me in Knysna, a little place called Teeson Island. He's golfing. He's just doing his own thing. A little bit of gym, a little bit of cycling. You know the trend. You've been here, Dan. It's like you pretend you've got a job, but you spend most of your time here with us.
I haven't quite graduated to proper Knysna, of course, which is tie-dye trousers and large volumes of marijuana. That's your game rather than mine. But it does look like you're having a lot of fun there. And that is the current time. But we're a nostalgic pair, are Alan and I, Mr. Richards. And there's so much we want to reminisce about as we go back to this extraordinary career. And we've each picked a few highlights, moments that we absolutely love talking about as we do at length. So I'm going to kick off here and ask you to take us back to the day you scored 300 runs in a single day against a Western Australian attack that included Dennis Lillee. That's absurd, Barry Richards, even for you.
Yeah, I mean, every dog has his day, Dan, and that was one of them. And it was only a 5.5 hour day. Can you believe that? They didn't play 6 hours then. I mean, they're such wusses in Australia. They couldn't manage 6 hours. So they had a 5.5 hour day. And the first ball I played and missed. And of course, Rodney Marsh, who's never been short of a word in his whole life, and also he thinks everybody in his team is deaf because he speaks very loudly. And he says to John Inverarity very loudly so I could hear, I thought this guy could bat. And of course, Invis happened to be in the vicinity of Rod Marsh when I hit the last ball for can you believe it? It was off Lillee and it hit the side screen on the full. But because the side screens in those days stood inside the ground, it only counted as 4. And he turned to Inverarity and he said, Invis turned to Rod Marsh, and they used to call him Bacchus after a town in Australia called Bacchus. Well, he said, Bacchus, I think he can play. And just marched off. Yeah, no, it was a good day. A lot of fun. And yes, you have those days now and again. You've got to enjoy them.
But you had those days a fair amount of times. Do you have any? What's your favorite memory of your career? I mean, obviously there are many, but is there one that if I said to you, just choose one immediately, a day that stands out? What would it be for you?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot on the field, but I think meeting Nelson Mandela was a fantastic day for me. I mean, it was during one of a Gary Player invitational golf things, and we were invited round to his house, and we were all standing, and I was standing with Nigel Mansell and Gary, and we were facing actually the wrong way, and he came out from behind, and you turned around and there's this imposing man standing right in front of you with his hand out, very firm handshake saying, welcome to my home. And very, very special moment. It actually captured a photograph of it, and it has a bit of a pride of place. I've never been good on keeping stuff, but that was one that I was very proud of. So off the field, obviously birth of your sons, that's always a major achievement. The second one, he came so quickly. I went home to get my wife's gear, and by the time I got back, he was already born. So that didn't take too long. he sort of dropped out, and then when I went in there to have a look and make sure everybody was okay, I tripped over the only light that provided in the room and threw everything into darkness. The doctor had a heart attack, so did I, and off we went. But Stephen turned out pretty good, so that was a good day. And then it was obviously the 100 in my second test. Should have got it before lunch, but Bill Laurie, he buggered around and changed his boots and changed the field. They bowled 3 overs in 21 minutes, Dan, just so that it wouldn't happen. He had the shits about something. So he had the shits about most things really. So that was obviously a fantastic day with the partnership with Graham was something special. And then there's a few county ones as well.
A few county ones. I mean, he had 80 centuries by the time that first class career finally came to an end. And a lot of it was playing in England. And so many guys talk so fondly of batting with you and of basically just being a spectator at the other end as you destroyed poor bowling attacks wherever you went. Who was the best batsman you ever shared a partnership with?
I mean, Graham would have to be one, and then Viv, at World Series cricket, and obviously Gordon Greenidge. Those are the three that stand out for me. I mean, there's been obviously some great players. Greg Chappell as another one. I mean, through the years, if you play long enough, you play with a lot of guys. But I think Graham, Viv, and Gordon were the three that I remember most fondly. And I had a couple of partnerships with Greg Chappell, but only had the one season there, so. I didn't play that much with him, but Gordon Greenidge obviously had a lot of partnerships with him at Hampshire. And it's probably a regret that I didn't get 100 hundreds. When you think about it, I got 170 50s. So,
Wow.
The challenge was getting 0 to 50, and then you entertain yourself, because I wasn't like Boyko, whose second 50 was always slower than his first. So that wasn't my style. My style was, to entertain myself, to try and do things that would irritate the bowlers, and often that got yourself out. And that's what I did. That was the sort of way that I played, really.
Were you like that as a school kid as well? Were you aggressive from the outset, or something you developed, or you?
No, I think it evolved over time. We I suppose at school you just played. You didn't ever think, should I score fast? Should I score slow? Most schoolboys' mentality is, whether it's rugby, where's the try line? If it's cricket, where's the boundary line? If it's soccer, where's the goals? That's how kids think, and it's a wonderful way to play your sport. That's how you should play it, and that's how dads should let their boys play it. And there's too many of them who are touch judge referees, and they interfere too much. And I suppose we've all been there a little bit, but I mean, I did it at school, I guess, without trying. And Lee Irvin was the gun player at school. I mean, he had a wonderful season. He was a year ahead of me, but he had a wonderful season at school, and everybody knew that he was going to be a Springbok at some stage.
When you look at cricket today, and you watch T20, which Alan loves, it's his favourite type of cricket. Do you sometimes think, crikey, it would have been awesome to have played a couple of IPL seasons and been able to cut loose in that form of the game?
Absolutely, and even now, I wish I was Chris Morris's agent. That would do me nicely. No, IPL gives you the freedom to play, I suppose, because there's so little emphasis put on results, because they know that if you got the freedom to play, then it just makes it that much easier. I feel a little bit sorry for the bowlers, because the grounds are pretty small, and the bats are pretty big. And I mean, if you get enough bat on it these days, it's going to go. In the old days, you might have had the wicketkeeper running back. Nowadays, it's the guy in the 20th row running back. So it's just a different game completely, Dan. I mean, it's a wonderful game for batsmen. I'm not so sure it's a wonderful game for bowlers. All they're trying to do is limit the damage, and that to me was never a way to play cricket. I think the way to play cricket was the bowlers try to get wickets and the batsmen try to get runs. But it's not quite like that in T20.
Was your bat heavier relative to others who played with you, or lighter? What was your preference?
I was probably in the mid range, really. Graham used a very heavy bat, we always used to call it in the old money. It was 213, 2 pounds 13 ounces. I was about 2.7, and there was guys who were lighter than me, and there was guys but it was sort of the mid range then. The strange thing is, a couple of years ago, I went to the first flooded cricket game in Australia, in Adelaide. I was invited over for it because I was the first person to face a ball of any significance under lights with Kerry Packer. Huh. It was eminently forgettable, Dan. It was a no ball down the leg side.
That was Len Pascoe.
Yeah, exactly. But I was invited to this, and while I was there, my bat that I got that 300 with actually is in the Adelaide Pavilion in their museum. And I went and got it out, and I said, I wonder if I could just have this for a minute, and I'll go and compare it to a bat that I could get out of David Warner's bag, which I managed to do because I knew the media liaison guy for the Australian cricket team. And we pulled it out, and mine was 18 mils wide on the edge, and his was 60. So, and the weight difference is 2 ounces.
Wow.
Can you believe that? It's just the way they manufacture. They're just so good at it. Now, the R&D that have gone into bats is just phenomenal. And yet the ball is exactly the same. They haven't done anything there at all.
We look at these records, and they really are extraordinary. And I think a lot of people see them today and have to double check to me they can actually be real. But even the great Barry Richards must have had the occasional nemesis. Who was the trickiest, the most dastardly bowler, the one who occasionally did get one up on you?
Oh, I mean, there was a few, I guess. I mean, Jackers was one. Funny enough, got me out one of the most times, but he used to play against me the most because he played all through Surrey, and then he played for Rhodesia. So we had him in the Curry Cup season, and then there was a guy called Mike Hendrick when we played on uncovered wickets, so that was a bit fearsome at times. And then of course Underwood, where if you got a game where they batted first, and then you went off and played a Sunday league game, and then you came back on the Monday, and it had rained on Sunday night. He got 7 for 17 against us, and I couldn't work out how we got 17 runs off him. It was an uncovered wicket. That's what they did. When my first couple of years in county cricket, they used to cover the end so it was dry for the bowlers to run up and bowl. But where the batsman batted, it was wet, which didn't strike me as being very fair. But that's the way. You played to the rules of the day, and that's what the rules of the day were.
Oh dear. We do have a very special guest coming up shortly, and we've also got that quiz. But just one last one for you while we're on the current subject. The hair. This is something Alan Committee and I were talking about. I think we've got a photo of you in your prime. So this is the young Barry Richards. I mean, that hair is glorious to me. I don't know about you, Alan, but I look at that hair. I see conditioner, possibly twice a day. I see maybe a bit of a blow dry going on. Definitely no split ends. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
A couple of Kingsmead minors in there that you didn't spot, Dan. I mean, Mick Jagger had hair like that. I mean, that was the rage. I mean, and I tell you what, it worked out so nicely because you didn't need sunscreen. you had your own gazebo to bat in.
You in the era of great moustaches. Did you ever sport a moustache? Did you ever try? Is that not your vibe?
Sure, Alan. I tried it once. I tried a mow together with a beard.
Right.
I made Prince Harry look like he had a dark beard, and mine turned out to a ginger job. Meanwhile, I played in Rockhampton in 90 degrees in World Series cricket with a beard and a mow, and that convinced me never to have one ever again. And that has been the case. It's not recommended for light skins.
I'm very glad it didn't last, and I think we've done some research. We think, Barry, that you sit in the all-time top 2 for international cricket haircuts. The guy you share the mantle with, and I think we agree on this, Alan. Let's have a look. Do you recognise this guy, Barry Richards?
No, that's not. No. That's not even comparison. Look at his forehead. He's got far too much of a forehead. He's got
a lot of forehead. You are right.
It doesn't count.
No.
So that's the great Zimbabwean all-rounder Guy Whittle, who I remember my sister being hopelessly in love with, along with
and Andy Whittle.
Girls in Zimbabwe.
I don't know what they did in Zim. They had so many brothers. They had the Flowers, the Whittles. There was
the Strangs.
The Strangs. I mean, what did they do up there? They married their sisters.
It's a small country with lots of dinner parties that involve car keys. I shall say no more than that. Alan Committee, I know you've got a very special guest arriving, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you grab your special guest, and that will allow me to jump into my notes here, Mr. Richard, because it is the Two Full Tossers cricket quiz. Are you ready to take on the nefarious quintet
Do I
of
get a
questions.
free ticket to the next Proteas game?
We'll sort you out with two, so you can take
Lovely.
take one of your Tinder dates along with you for the evening.
Yeah, I'm only 52 on that.
Not looking a day over. All right. So just to let you know, we've had mixed results in the past. Ashwell Prince managed to get 4 out of 5. I think JP Dermody got 1 out of 5. Darren Goff got 3 out of 5. So we're a mixed bag so far. We'll see how you rate. Here's a question number 1 for you, Barry Richards. We go back to your test debut and that first innings. I'd like to know who top scored for South Africa in that first innings of your very first test.
First innings.
First inning.
I think Eddie Bala would be a guess.
Oh, that's a guess. If you were right, you could get a bonus point if you give me the score.
He got 100 and some change. 100 plus VAT, Dan.
Not far off. We'll give you the point for the answer. It was Eddie Bala. Got 127 in that first test victory. Of course, also famous for you getting your first test wicket in the second innings.
Sure. Can you believe that?
No.
No, I can't either. If I die and go to heaven and I get up there and the man says to me, who do you want to face for the rest of your life? It'll be me.
Oh dear. All right, 1 from 1. Question number 2. You are one of 2 cricketers to have made a double 100 in World Series cricket. Who was the other one?
Greg Chappell.
Greg Chappell. It was against you guys, wasn't it?
It was.
246. I think you got yours in January. He got his in February. For the higher score, 246 not out. Okay, you're 2 from 2, going well. I wasn't sure, given you're 52 years of age, whether the question should be more along the lines of, do you remember what you had for lunch? So I'm very glad to see that the memory is nice and sharp. Question number 3, there's a stadium, a cricket stadium in this picture, Barry Richards. Can you tell me which one it is?
Oh. Yes, can I tell you which one that is? That's the Hampshire. It's called the Ageas Bowl now, I think. Is it? It looks very similar to Hampshire, but I don't think it is. No. Well, let me look at the bottom there. There's some advertising, so that it might be like West Indies or somewhere like that. Kennington Oval, Barbados.
All right. Closer with the West Indies. It was actually not a trick question, but there was a link to it. That is the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in
Antigua.
So
it's brand new. Last time I saw it, there wasn't a stand that big, so they must have brought it in from somewhere.
Well, you got a net named after you at DHS, and he got a stadium in Antigua. So there are the 2 Richardses for you. All right, 2 from 3. Question number 4. This should be a nice, easy one for you. Name the cricketer in the picture.
Gordon Greenidge.
Gordon Greenidge it is. Feet off the ground, smashing one away. As you mentioned earlier, just a wonderful, wonderful cricketer, an old partner of yours. Final one for you. Go back to 1969. You were one of the 5 Wisden Cricketers of the Year. 1970, which South African followed in your footsteps?
Mike Proctor.
Mike Proctor, indeed. 4 out of 5, Barry Richards. That is fabulous.
And Viv will be very disappointed, my blood brother.
I know he's probably watching
from another mother. Sorry,
he's probably watching at the moment because I know he's a very keen fan of 2 full tosses. So sorry, Sir Vivian. Your reward, Barry Richards, is an audience with an incredibly special person. I know he's somebody you'll revere, look up to, count as probably one of your personal heroes. He is the life vice president of the Griqualand North Umpires and Scorers Association, joining us very specially on 2 full tosses. It are meneer Johan van der Walt.
Baie dankie. It's a groot eer. This is a great honoration. You know, to be in the presence of Wat is sy naam? Barry Richards. This is a man amongst men. Prachtig. Mr. Richards, don't laugh for me, Popol. I'm not laughing for you. As you can see, I've tried to emulate your hair. I've gone for what I call the Kruiwagen comb over. And your hair is beautiful, silver, but beautiful, beautiful hair. Now, listen, I want to ask you, besides being a brilliant batsman, you've also a marvelous commentator. I think, is that how you say it? It's a commentator. Tell us a little bit about your time in a commentary box, because you were a marvelous analyst, but also you brought a bit of fun to the commentary box. Did you have favorite my teeth are going to fall out. Commentators that you worked with?
Of course.
Come on, tell me then.
He's got the same coat on as Dan. He used to wear that coat all the time.
Oh, Mr. Benno, he was baie good.
Hey,
Of course.
very good.
Very good, very good. Did you have who was the worst commentator you ever worked with? Come on, tell us now. I want to know.
No,
Tell me.
I can't. No, you can't say that, just in case. That's not nice to. You never say that you have a bad commentator.
What do you
You
say?
just have a commentator that doesn't know enough about the game and shouldn't be there.
Oh, I'm hearing
And
from
there's
you.
there's quite a few of those.
I know that, my friend. Nee, dit nou praat jy die waarheid, bliksem. Okay, now listen for me, Papa. I'm going to ask you some quick questions now. Don't think for me, okay? Imagine there you are in the middle of the pitch, and you're just not thinking, you're just using an instinct. You just give me the short answers. Are you ready? Here we go. Best batsman at the moment, Joe Root or Kane Williamson?
Yes,
For you,
it's
for
very
you.
hard.
It's hard, it's hard.
Yeah. Kane
You've got-
Williamson.
Kane Williamson, mooi. No helmet or no box? Yo.
Hey, the box came 100 years before the helmet, so it just shows you what the brains we've got. I
Exactly.
would say no helmet. I'd rather have a box.
You don't have a box, you might not have a helmet. Anyway, that's something else. A smashed cover drive for 4 or a massive hook for 6 for you?
Smash cover drive for 4. Keep it
Class.
along the ground.
Classy. Clive Rice or Richard Hadley?
Yes. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Hey, Clive Rice or Richard Hadley. Dead heat.
It's a problem. I'm going to let you go with that one. I'm not happy, but I'll let you go for this one.
It's a dead heat.
Tony Greig or Bill Lorry?
Yeah. Tony Greig or Bill Lorry. Tony Greig.
Tony Greig.
My old
Mooi.
captain.
Daar sê. Mooi.
World Series cricket.
Cullis of Proctor?
Yes. Now you're asking some hard questions.
I'm giving you the hard questions.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
It's hard. Don't tell me
I
Debbie.
think they've got to play a game of tennis to see who wins.
I think that's probably best. Okay, here's an easier one. Prince Philip or the rapper DMX? Both passed away this week. Rest in peace, both of them. Prince Philip.
DMX, is that those ropes that you use when you go to the gym?
It can be. Oh, yeah. Oh, you can absolutely. Great.
For our Prince Philip gave us, always used to award when we won the county championship. We used to get a little replica of the county championship cup, and every member of the team got one. So I went to see Prince Philip.
Boy. He was apparently not a bad batsman by all accounts.
No, he was the permanent 12th man of the MCC, and when you go to watch cricket at Lord's, he sits in the committee room. And I've been lucky enough to be invited a few times. And he sits with a chair in the middle and a chair on either side. And you've got a gentleman with the gloves on. And remember those old, when the waiters used to have the gloves on and everything, you've got this guy who looks after him. And you're allowed 10 minutes to talk to him. And then you get a tap on the shoulder and it's somebody else's turn. And he does that up until lunchtime.
Amazing. Yes, that's mooi. Greatest hairstyle? Imran Khan or Mike Eisman?
Now, greatest hairstyle.
Well, greatest, yeah, I think look of hair for the day. You've only got those two choices. I know you would be the winner, but now
Hazy had nice hair. He had lots of it too. He was a sort of a bit of a clone. So I have to go to Hazeman.
Facing Dennis Lilly of Michael Holding?
Yes, it's change room. Go to the change room.
Don't be there. Don't be there at all.
Don't be there, especially if you haven't got a box and a helmet.
Okay, here's one. This is your final one. This is a tricky one. This is for the heart. You can play 5 more tests for South Africa, or South Africa gets to win a cricket one-day World Cup.
I can play 5 more tests, or we win the World Cup. We got to win the World Cup somewhere along the line.
Yes, alsjeblieft. Please, it's got
We
to
got to
happen.
win sometime.
Oh,
I hope I live to see it. That's all.
maybe you play 5 more tests before that happens. We don't know.
Mind you, the way they're playing, I mean, maybe I should.
No, on that bombshell, I say to you, this has been a pleasure and an honor. Baie dankie, meneer. Tot weerziens, nee. Lekker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm going to look. I don't have time for that. Bye-bye.
Dear, thank you very much indeed. The fabulous Johan van der Walt. That must be one of the career-defining interviews that you've had there, Barry Richards.
Can I get his autograph, Dan? I really need to get his autograph.
I think there's a strong possibility it will be spelt incorrectly, but we can definitely arrange one of those.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy you might give 100 rand to when you get a speeding fine too. For that, no.
Indeed he is. I know that most of the time spent is playing golf. Will you be watching any of the IPL? Does it have any appeal to you?
Dan, to be honest, I'll watch if AB or somebody like that is playing, but generally speaking, I just find, it really isn't the sort of thing that really appeals to me. I think I'm more to watch at least 50 overs. There's a bit of normal cricket to it, and test matches obviously is the big challenge for everybody. But the modern world is very different from my world, so I should be watching it more often. But I haven't been watching a lot. No.
No, look, Alan and I spend many hours talking about how, what do you really want to see? Punt score 100 off 12 balls in the IPL, or watch Bangladesh make 11 runs in a session on day 4 in Dunedin, watched by 9 people with not a single wicket falling. That is proper, gripping, real, intense cricket.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. But do you want to see somebody just throw a bat at it, eyes shut, hits the top edge, and goes over third man for 6 when he doesn't deserve a run? I mean, there's every side of cricket has got everybody. Everybody's got an opinion on it. I like to see a little bit of classical stuff. 11 runs in a session might be a little bit beyond me, Dan. I think it's beyond. I don't know. How did 9 people stay and watch it?
I think gently dozing off as things played out.
Not gently.
Final question for you before we let you get back to the high life of Knysna. It was a big Monday night out on the club scene in Knysna.
This is the only highlights there are, Dan.
If you could pick one cricketer, one batsman from the last 10 years who you felt most closely mirrored Barry Richards in full flow, who would it be?
Well, you like to think of it, somebody like AB. I mean, if that's, but it's probably, having watched Markram score a few runs, I think that's more the sort of style that I was. But Callis was a little bit different, I guess. But I'd like to think AB, but that's for other people to judge. I mean, AB is a special talent. He really is a special talent.
All right. I think Alan was kind of leaning more towards Lee Barnard, but that's his general yardstick.
Lee Barnard. Now, there you are. I'd have to switch hands for a start.
Well, that's true.
Oh dear. Barry Richards, it's been an absolute delight catching up with you. Best of luck on the golf course tomorrow. Thanks for sharing a few wonderful memories with us, and for a fabulous career. And no need to say that the world didn't get to see nearly enough of you, but what we did, we loved, and we remember very fondly. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Alan. It was an absolute pleasure. And good luck with the other programs, Dan. I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Appreciate it. There we go. Barry Richards. And still, it might be a little more Robbie Fleck-like in its hue, but the hair remains magnificent on the back of a quite staggering career.
Incredible career. And we didn't even really talk about it much, but one of the pleasures that he gave us, I think, and for someone who didn't, I was too young to really enjoy him in full flight, either domestically or on the international stage. But in those dark and dreary, dismal batting performances that our late 90s test side would sometimes give in Australia, it was nice that we could silence Bill Lawry on occasion by reminding him of his test loss to our 1970s cricket side, played so brilliantly by Barry Richards et al. But that used to give me pleasure, just knowing that Bill Lawry could be silenced in full flight. So this was a wow, what a little tingle of delight to talk to Barry Richards.
Indeed. And he may be 75, but I tell you what, I would still pick him. I'd put him straight in, maybe at 75.
Yes, done. First person on the score sheet.
All right. On that note, we say a very, very good night. Thank you so much for joining us both. A huge thank you to the great Barry Richards for being our very special guest tonight. We might have Kevin Peterson next week. We'll see. But of course, if we can get somebody better, we certainly will. So from myself and from Alan Committee, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you back next Monday night on Two Full Tossers.